Hey guys, welcome back. We are here with Skylar Smith, and we, of course, here at CrossFit Garage, want to help you get healthy and fit. Skylar's taken a fun path of not only being an athlete, but also a coach, and he is helping us build a firm foundation in fitness, food, and finances. So we're going to talk about his journey. You're going to get to know him and his particular journey, as well as some fun coaching tips, because he is now coaching everybody. So here we go. Skylar, welcome to the episode, the show. I don't know what this is. I still feel a little bit weird about it being a podcast, but whatever.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun.
My first podcast.
I know, I love it. Well, it's funny. So it's interesting in the gym. So we have this happy, humble, helpful.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that a lot of people are like, I'm not sure I want to like talk about things because people are very humble. I'm like, no. There is somebody out there that has your story, right? And it's funny that most of us come into this feeling a little bit nervous. Like CrossFit is, were you nervous when you first decided to try CrossFit?
Yeah, I had no idea what it was.
Yeah, no, so you didn't even like do some, no. That is
I've never
awesome.
heard of it.
All right, so let's do some backup. Let's get some background. You grew up here in the Woodstock area?
No,
Okay.
I'm not from here.
So where'd you grow up?
Americus, Georgia. It's in South Georgia.
I know Americus, yeah.
Why?
So I used to work for a power company, MEAG Power, and we went to a lot of small towns doing, I was the co-op, so they're like, hey, would you go fetch this for me? And so I would have to go different places. And I'm like, wow, that is like 3.5 hours away and it's still in Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what ended up getting you here to Woodstock?
Brooke.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Me and Brooke kind of connected, and then we got an apartment, and
There you go.
it's been a
Did
road
she
ever
grow up
since.
here?
She grew up in McDonough.
Oh.
Yeah.
So how did she get up to Woodstock?
So her dad lives in Roswell,
Okay.
and her mom lived in Sandy Springs. But when her parents were together, they lived in McDonough.
Okay.
And then once they separated, one moved to Vinings, and the other moved to Vinings, and then she still went to Elka down in McDonough. So it was just a long road. So once she turned 16, that's when her parents moved. Both of them moved to Sandy Springs, just on different sides.
Sure.
And then she had to drive her and her brother to school, and then
That is a long drive.
I know.
So that's 16-year-olds going through downtown Atlanta.
Morning traffic.
Wow.
Morning and evening.
Yeah, talk about getting experience driving.
I tell you what, she scares me to death on the highway, but she is an excellent driver. But she's been doing it since she was like 15, like
Right.
right when she could get under the wheel.
Right.
Her parents put her under the wheel. So.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So I've got three drivers, and I have Evie is about to start driving.
She is?
Yeah, I know. They grow up fast, and so I know
She was like 11 when I met her.
So she's she'll turn 15 very soon.
Really?
So we get our learner's permit. And I was an asshole dad driver. So Olivia's in the car trying to drive, and I'm freaking out because when you drive a lot, you don't really sit in the passenger seat much.
Yeah.
And so when the other person is driving, you're in the wrong seat, the right seat, right? And all of those mailboxes feel like they're going to hit the windshield, the window.
They might.
They might. And the whole time I'm like, go left, go left, go left. And then a car's coming. I'm like, I'm just kidding. Aim right, aim right. Like, oh man. So by the time Levi was driving, I kind of got myself sorted out. But it's funny the changes you see in yourself, not just in driving, but then in trying to teach other people, which we'll get into for you doing CrossFit and then teaching CrossFit. Okay.
Yeah.
So you move up here to Woodstock.
Kennesaw.
Okay, Kennesaw?
Yeah, we lived in Kennesaw first.
And then eventually came up this way, or is it? Kennesaw's not that far away. So for those that aren't local, Kennesaw and Woodstock are maybe
They're the same.
Yeah, maybe 15 minutes apart if there's no traffic.
Yeah.
If there's traffic, it could be 2 hours.
Yeah. So we were in college and we lived in Kennesaw. I was graduating college from South Georgia, and I wanted to start college up here. So we got an apartment in Kennesaw, like literally right when we first started dating. Like it was like 2 weeks in. I look back at it now, and I moved 3.5 hours with this girl that I don't even know. Hey, it worked out. We're married now.
Right.
So, just bad idea that time.
So it is funny. Sometimes it does, and then you're like, when I tell the youngers, like, hey, right, but it does work, right? Sometimes
it works.
Sometimes the high school sweetheart is your mom and dad. You're like, well, that's weird, right?
Yeah.
They made it that long. Or middle school. You're like, you all met in middle school? How did that work out? Yeah, so it is interesting. It does sometimes play out. So that's pretty cool. So did you end up, college-wise, did you move up, is it KSU? Is it end up going there? Or?
Georgia State.
Okay, Georgia State.
I went to Georgia State for a semester and a half, and then I dropped out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have told my kids, so I have 2 in college.
Yeah.
And we have had the college talk a lot. I'm like, look, you don't actually have to go to college.
Yeah.
It's a route. It's not the route. So I think people put too much, parents around me, me included, put way too much pressure on kids to going to college. So I actually did a podcast with Evan and Levi. I've never released it. It still needs to be edited because we said too many words that are not allowed these days, apparently. I grew up in the 80s, so there are things that I don't know. They're like, Dad, you can't say that. I'm like, what? But in that podcast, we were talking about, is doing all these AP classes worth it? Is, doing all the harder things to get to this, is it worth it? And the answer is we don't know because they're not done with college yet. Yeah. But yeah, so not everybody needs to go that route. Okay, so you somehow or other decide, one, I'm going to run some mud races or obstacle races, Spartans particular. Yes. And then two, I'm going to do this crazy thing called CrossFit because I think it means mad fitness. It's cross fitness. No, it doesn't.
I think it's a cult, really.
It is a cult. Actually, so if you look up like the characteristics of a cult, it very much is.
It is. It definitely
is. We meet at very specific times. You have to be part of the group to get in. There are words we use that other people don't understand.
And you have to wear a certain thing.
You do. That's right. There's a wardrobe for it. Oh, that's funny. That is true. I forgot about that part. Yeah. So it is. It can be. I guess anything can be a cult, but it is.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
It's a fun cult.
It's a fun cult. So how did you get to Spartan Races? What does that look like?
So Spartan Races, I had no idea what it was. I was working out here, afternoon classes with David, Kirby, and Alan, and they were going to do a Spartan race, and they're like, come do it. And I'm like, yeah, I used to be a cross-country runner. I was a track runner, so I'm like, I can do that. So I did it, and I fell in love with it. Yeah. And I continued doing them all through that year because I did my first one it was like March, so I finished the year doing races, and then Spartan reached out to me and was like, yo, do you want to be an ambassador? So I'm like, yeah, I would love to. So now I travel to be able to run these races.
So what does that mean for you as an ambassador? What kind of like things go along with that for you or others?
Basically, like I can run for free. I have a discount code for 20% off all the races.
And what is that discount code so people can get in there with your discount code?
It is a bunch of random numbers.
Okay.
I'll have to give it
to
you.
So email it to me and then I'll put it in the show notes. So guys, if you want to run a Spartan race, does it work forever or is it every race is a different code?
It should work to the end of the year, and then I'm sure next year I'll get a new one.
Okay, and you'll probably have that new one posted on social media somewhere. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So you'll be on there. So you guys will be able to find us. So that's awesome. So, and it also lets them know that you're reaching out, ambassadorizing people to say, hey, come run. Right.
Yeah.
And we do have this podcast may be coming out while you guys are running, some of the gym is running in that 23rd mud race.
So I won't be doing
Right. Well, it's also not a Spartan race either.
It's a savage race.
Yeah, it's a savage race.
Yeah.
So similar-ish, but not the same thing. So actually, what is the difference for you between something like a Spartan and a savage?
So I've never done savage.
Okay.
I'm signed up to do one in September, but unfortunately, I can't do it.
Right, and I'll be doing that one.
Yeah.
Is there a so on paper they're the same sort of thing? You run, you get some obstacles, but in reality, there's a feel and even a like a leveling system. Like I feel like Spartan is like
Spartan's higher up. So
you're going to
on a tier like easiest to hardest. So hardest would definitely be Spartan, and then I believe, in my opinion, it's Savage and then Tough Mudder. So Tough Mudder it's owned by Spartan, and it's more like a family and friends, like teamwork kind of thing. Like everybody helps each other. Like don't get me wrong, people help each other on Spartan, but people are more competitive with Spartan. Savage is kind of like a mix between the two. Like you're competing, but you're also like, it's like friends and family oriented.
Sure.
So that's kind of like the difference. But I've only ever ran Tough Mudder and Spartan.
Okay. So. Yeah. Well, we used to. Did you know we did that big banner up there, Fire Breather Challenge? We used to have a obstacle course company. With the bike? Before it was big. So one of the other owners, Eric Richards, he's like, we should do this thing where you run around in the woods and you jump over obstacles and people sign waivers. And we're like, all right, we'll give it a shot. So up here at Rope Mill, the bike course, we would put on a mud or obstacle race. Before it was really big. So we were doing them and we're like, I don't know, it's fun, but nobody really knows what's going on. And then Spartan started doing them. Yeah. And then, or maybe they already were, but it started getting like more word. And then, so as we were tapering off, they were tapering up. And we were like, no, what we should have done is just kept doing it. And they would have bought it like they did Tough Mudder.
So you would have been billionaires.
Well, or at least 100,000-aires.
No, billionaires. Do you know how much those tickets cost?
We only did races here locally because you have to like like ports all of that gear everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just a fiasco to try to set it up.
Once people get into it, I mean, you'll have the money to go.
That's true. That is true. So so we used to do it, and the obstacles were not as sophisticated. It was a lot of wood-based built things that after you put 1,000 people over them,
it's kind of broke.
You're like, oh man, we need to shut this one down.
Yeah.
But I think where they do Spartan and Savage and all them is they have like pretty ruggedized material, metal, everything, and they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part, besides like the walls and like the some tables you have to climb over.
Okay, so not everything is totally indestructible.
No.
What is the worst obstacle that you have to do?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would say,
Electrical lines.
no, that's Tough Mudder.
Did they take this out? Okay, they still do
No,
that?
it's still there, and they have a paramedic there. No, I would say probably Olympus.
What is that?
So it is a slanted wall, and they used to have, it's got holes, like every other like area where you put your hand is a hole, and in the middle there's a chain. There used to be a ball on the chain, but they took the ball out.
It was too easy?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
no, it's not easy at all. But
No, I mean, having the ball made
having the ball made it too easy, I guess.
It doesn't sound easy to
even
me
though
at all, but
it was like a 40% success rate. So now it's like dropped to like 18 to 20%. But it's like slanted, so you have to hold yourself at a certain degree, and you have to like climb over, and not climb, but like walk sideways on the wall. And you have to have the key is to have your feet up higher, but you're leaning so far back, so you're literally hanging on with one hand while you're trying to navigate.
Gosh. So there's a whole lot of grip strength and pressure.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So have you ever watched American Ninja Warrior?
Of course.
Yeah. And so that thing right there is all grip strength.
Oh yeah.
And my kids would watch it and be like, Dad, you need to do it. I'm like, look, I can probably lift that wall because they only have to lift a 135-pound wall. Like that's their heaviest thing. And the rest of it is hold on for dear life. I'm like, I can't. My hands are so weak. I can hold on for like seconds as we lift something.
Do it.
I mean, yeah, but I would fail quickly. So the whole thing, the idea of this grip strength, you look at those obstacles, and if you've done them, you know, like, okay, it's a lot harder than you think it looks. Like, oh, I can just go. No, you're tilted backwards.
Yeah.
And you're trying to dig in. Yeah, no way.
No, it's very hard. It was easier when you had the ball because at least you had something to hold on to, but you can't really hold on to a chain.
No, I guess maybe, is it thick enough to put your fingers through it?
You would break a finger.
You break a finger, yeah, it's probably true. Yeah.
No.
See, that's why I don't do these things. The other one that they had that I thought was super sketch or scary to me, there used to be, and it maybe wasn't like this, but in my mind it was, they had one of those sewer runoff water, rainwater runoff pipes, a culvert pipe, one of those plastic pipes that are maybe like 3 foot in diameter, and they'll like put it down into water, and then you climb back up the other side. And so maybe you can see through it, or maybe you can't. I'm like, yeah, I'm not putting my head underneath muddy water to come out a pipe on the other side. That is not happening.
That'd be fun though.
It would be interesting if you can guarantee that I'm making it.
Well, I mean, you signed a waiver. So.
Well, the waiver says you might die.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't want to sign a waiver. So I tell my kids all the time, they're like, we'll go across the street and like, hey, car's coming, be careful. They're like, yeah, but I have the right of way. I'm like, yeah. So as a human, you may have the right of way against a car, but the car is still going to win. So waivers are only mean that I guess you can sue whatever. But so those are challenging races. We do this. Well, a couple of us do these adventure races.
Yeah.
Which is similar-ish. The idea is do something hard with long suffering.
Yeah.
And I think if you were to boil down all the characteristics in CrossFit and why people like it, or who kind of maybe does well with it, I think it's people who are okay with long suffering. Like, okay, I can push through this. I can make it. Yeah. I don't know if that's the ideal characteristic, but it seems like I just need to make it through this, and I'm going to be healthier and fitter than I will be or was or whatever.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So you said, I'm going to backtrack. So I make notes now. Instead of being tangential, I made a note, cross country and track. So what did you do, cross country and track? Oh, cross country you run. Track-wise, what did you do?
I did the long distance.
Oh, yeah. So easy bleed over.
Yeah, I did the long distance. I did high jump and long jump. And I attempted discus and shock put, but those just weren't my strong suit. Yeah. So I had to jump.
Anything with strength is not my strong suit. So they're like, you need to throw this 16-pound ball. I'm like, damn.
Well, I was also like 90 pounds doing it.
Yeah.
So,
And they don't weight class those, where I found my sport wrestling, because you could fight people. Fight? That's not right. You could.
Well, you sort of fight.
You sort of fight people in your weight class.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm used to throwing around my older brother. Well, he threw me around, but he was like 20 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
So now I get to fight with people that are my weight class? all right, I'm in. And so that was a lot of fun. So high jump, what was the highest you got on that?
Dude, I can't even remember now. I know definitely over 6 feet.
Oh, really? So you were able to like actually like do the whole Fosbury flop where you twist over?
I hit the bar once and I had a big welt, like a black welt on my back, like a line straight across, and I learned my lesson. So I took it very careful since then.
So similar, I pole vaulted.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so that's basically high jump, but like
that's very high jump
on a fiberglass stick
that could break.
That could, and I've seen them break.
It could literally snap in half.
So it was interesting. It was fun, but I tried to do it at Georgia Tech. But do you know how much the average pole vaulter gets paid? Professional pole vaulter?
Probably like 20 grand, if that.
0, because there are none. Right? So it's just like I'm like thinking about this. I'm running. I'm the only pole vaulter. They don't really care about the track and field, or sorry, the field. The track they did care about. There was a guy from Brookwood who did the high jump, and there was a guy from Russia or some Russian. I'm probably getting canceled for that. I don't know if they're all called the same thing. Whatever. It's Baltic
someone over there.
Region. Yeah. Здравствуйте. He talked with the anyway. He did the everything else. He did the discus, hammer, shot put, javelin. He did everything. So there was one guy that did them all. I'm like, we suck if we're like 3 of us are the entire field crew. And so I tried those things, no good. And getting an engineering degree pays a whole lot better than getting a pole vaulting degree.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, it didn't last very long for me. Okay, so you were doing in cross country. Was it still back then? It's not that long ago. When you ran cross country, was it the 5K course that they do now, or is it a different distance?
So I started in 4th grade. My best friend's, his dad was the cross country coach.
Okay.
So we all started in 4th grade. So I was running middle school in 4th grade.
It's like a 1 mile or 2 mile?
It's 1 mile. Okay. It's like 1.2 or something.
Okay.
And then in 7th grade, they transitioned me to run with high school. So I was doing the 5K.
Okay. And what was your best 5K time?
I think sub 20 for sure.
Really?
But I can't.
Dang, that's good.
Exactly remember.
Yeah. So Olivia, not Olivia. Sorry, Evie. Evie, the other kid.
One of them.
One of them, I don't know. They all live in a special place in my mind, and so their names are jumbled. She is trying to run cross country and play soccer at the same time. I'm like, so if you do too many things, you're never good at any of them. You should probably pick something.
But they kind of go hand in hand.
They do.
Because you kind of run a 5K when you're playing soccer.
So that's the thing is she's accidentally good at cross country because she runs so much in soccer. But
and it's 2 different seasons too. So.
Well, so it's right now it's the same for us. So in high school it's different, but she's playing club soccer. Yeah,
I see. Yeah.
And especially right now for those that don't live in Georgia. So the devil came down to Georgia, and when he came down to Georgia, he made it really hot. And so it is a local call down here for us in the Bible Belt, but it's still really hot. And I don't know why it's so hot.
It's only 100 today.
I know it is stupid hot, and so they keep canceling cross country because they're like it's too hot. I'm like, well. They're going to have to run in this eventually.
They had us running in the cold and in the heat.
I know. So I guess, I don't know. We, teachers, parents, whatever, are smarter for sure, but I feel like there is a place where you're like, look, you should go out and run, and if you feel weird, just, like, slow down.
Stop.
Like, learn something about yourself. What do you think about that with maybe coaches getting a little bit too lax? Like, we're not going to run this too hot. What would you do if you were running cross country?
I mean, if I already did the workout, then you're going to run anyway.
So I think so too. So I told
unless you have like a health condition, then that's kind of understandable.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
You're going to have to run regardless because you can't control when the meets are and how hot it's going to be.
That's right. So there's a podcast. I listen to a bunch of podcasts, but on one of them it's Patrick Cummings, and he does Varied Not Random and Lynchpin, and they were asking him, what is the worst environment to do CrossFit games or CrossFit events at? And he said, you know what? I know you think I'm going to say Colorado because it's a mile high. He said it's not. It's the dirty South because you can't get over heat exhaustion and humidity. So I'm like, that's right. It's like, so they say, powers that be, the CrossFit Games might be in Tennessee next year, which is nearly Georgia.
So field trip?
Yes, and it could be like crazy hot, so everyone from Georgia or in the Southeast is going to have a distinct advantage.
I was about to say, so we're going to do good.
Yeah, we probably should, because it is hard to understand what it means to do a sport in this environment.
Oh, yeah. No, it's A lot.
Yeah.
And plus, like all the CrossFit gyms down here, like no one has air conditioning.
No. Well, so technically we do, but it just goes right out the door if we turned it on. Yeah. So we have 2 garage doors we lift up, and all the air just mixes. So on the good side, it gets you ready for things like a 5K or a Spartan race or whatever because we're out in the elements.
Yeah.
The elements. We do not work out in the rain.
Yes, we do.
I mean,
you make us run in the rain.
Well, you can run, but I mean, like our gear is inside.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not like literally.
We are physically outside.
Yeah. We can physically go outside if we want to. What is it? Is it Rebecca? No, is it Rebecca? I'm going to say it's Rebecca. Rebecca, if it's not you, sorry. But she would run the Woodstock 5K with one of her friends. And so she got into CrossFit like 7 years ago. Her first thing she said was, is it going to ruin my 5K time? I'm like, well, probably not. It's probably going to drive it up because we're going to do more than you've probably done, just less miles. And that's what her fear was like, hey, we're not running as much. Yeah. Her friend was over at the huge gym right there, Lifetime.
Yeah.
And was doing like 5 miles a day on the treadmill in the air conditioning with a magazine. And she's like, yeah, she's doing 5 miles a day or whatever it was. And I barely run 400 meters a week. Yeah. Like, it'll be okay. So when the time came for the race, I mean, it's outside. It's 4th of July in Woodstock. It was really hot. So Rebecca crushed her. If it was Rebecca, good job. If it wasn't, it was good job for whoever else. But so working out in the elements like that is helpful, especially if you're going to be doing all these obstacle races.
Oh yeah, the heat doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So this is a good, I guess, going from cross country and track, especially long distances, will prepare you well to do the obstacle-based races because you need to run around. Now, you can skip obstacles if you want to, right? You can, like, if it's something like, oh, I can't do that. Is there usually some sort of like either burpee penalty or a time penalty or something?
So it depends. So like if you're just in the open heat, which is where you have the black headband, then you can skip, but you have to do either 30 burpees or they've implemented a lot of penalty loops. It's like maybe a quarter of a mile, maybe 0.3 miles, and it's just in the woods. You just take the loop and then you come back. But if you're competing with age group where you have a red headband, you have to complete the burpees because they literally have a camera there and they count your burpees. And if you like mess up a burpee or something, then it's like a second penalty.
So the camera watches the quality control. Now that's what I was going to ask because it is nearly impossible to watch every rep.
You have to. So they have people that watch the video after and then you'll get penalized after the fact on your time.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that's only for like the red headbands.
Right. Okay, so no, that's a good one. I didn't even know this. So if you're running open for fun, it's a black headband.
Yes.
And if you're running for competition, it's red.
Red.
And is there another color? Like I know, like isn't there a heat on some of those where you're like, these people are doing the trifecta or something, like, and they're like named competitors, and they go first. Do those get a different one, or is it just they get to go first?
So, like, if you're running and it's like, just say it's a trifecta weekend, or even just a weekend, they have the ultra, which is a 50K.
Dang.
Then they have a purple vest on, and when you see them coming up to the obstacles, everyone, most of the time, by then, it's all the black headbands. We just say, "Hey, ultra's coming through. Let ultra go," because he's been out there. He's doing the course twice.
Oh, wow.
So just let him go ahead and go. So that's what we do.
Is it a little humbling when you see a purple vest just do the thing that you're struggling on? You're like, how did they just do that?
I know.
Twice.
I know, when he's already been out there since like 6 a.m.
My gosh, that is crazy. Okay, so then you get into something. Well, of course, I'm 50 and you're not.
Yeah.
But had we known each other back when we started into creating CrossFit Garage and whatever else, we were big into competition. We went so far down the route that I think as a business owner, we messed ourselves up too much. Like basically, Skylar, if you don't compete, you're nobody, leave us, right? I mean, we weren't that much of a jerk, but it was close.
Yeah.
But you and Chris get into a lot of competitions. You guys traveled around. How did you decide? I know I don't, well, except for the Open. So CrossFit does, how would you explain the Open?
It's basically to see how much you suck compared to like the higher level athletes, because you'll be like, you're ranked.
But what is it? What is the Open?
It is a 4 week period in February, and basically everybody around the world pays like $20-25, and every Thursday night they release the workout for that Friday. Every single gym around the world does this workout, and you submit your numbers. So we have judges in the gym. You got to be certified through CrossFit, but besides the point, we all judge it. Everybody make sure, count the reps, and whatever your score is, it gets submitted to actual CrossFit. So you're actually on the CrossFit leaderboard, and if for some reason you're actually really good, you can go to the games. Well, it's not directly to the games.
Sectionals or regionals or something.
Yeah, it goes.
But
like,
yes, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Maybe said it's the open. Let's see if they use that word. It's the open invitation to the world to try to make it to the CrossFit Games.
Yeah,
that sound good?
But you have to go like, you win the open, not win the open, but qualify in the open. Then you have you qualified this year.
No, well, so 2 years ago I did get
this year you qualified. You qualified for the 50 up or something.
I did, so it was one of them. I don't remember which one it was, but I did the workouts because Jamie and Danny are like, hey, it's pretty cool, you should do it. I'm like, I don't want to do it. So it was a little humbling. In the open, the workouts are lighter and strength is not my forte. And so I could do well in the open when they're like, hey, here, do this weird movement like a wall walk and some lifts, which I feel like the lifts are heavy, but in terms of CrossFit, they're not. So there's hey, 135 pound, clean and jerk, or 100, then it moves up to 185 pound clean and jerk. I'm like, hey, you're getting near my top end. Fortunately, it's hard to get to that number, right? So in the open, I think they take they invite the top 10% to the regionals or sectionals or whatever it's called next.
Yeah.
It's still at your gym, so you don't have to actually go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so the girl's like, yeah, you should do it. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. So in that, show you how far off we are, or I am. So I was probably, I'm going to make up numbers because I don't remember the exact figures, but it was something like, let's say there's round numbers. Let's go with 100,000 50-year-old men. So they take the top 10%. So that's 10,000. So I was ranked about 8,000. I'm like, okay, that's not too bad. I'm higher up in the 10,000, right? I'll do it. So we did that, and when we were done with the 3 workouts you had to do in under 3 days, only I think 8,000 people actually registered for it, and it wasn't even 8,000. I think it's off by 0. So maybe 800 people were the number, and 800 registered for it. I was number 797. And I'm like, wait a minute. I did much better in the open, and this one I'm like, and then some guys, they did the first workout and scored well, but not good enough to go to the games, and so they quit. And they still were above me, even though they did zeros in the next 2 workouts. I'm like, wow, that is so bad that I can't even beat people who didn't even finish the workout.
Yeah, but you still made it further than any of us.
It was humbling. I was like, that's for, and my sister just said, yeah, but you also did all 3 workouts in one day. I'm like, that's true. Not that would have changed anything, because they were just, those people are pretty stout, and it got really heavy too quick for me. I'm just not that big. Anyway, so you get into competitions, and what do you think about your first competition?
Very humbling. It was very fun. I love competing, but me and Chris definitely would have had a shot of being, at least making podium. But there is this group there that they definitely should have been in RX.
Yeah.
Me and Chris were in scaled, and they were doing RX weights, so it kind of cheated the system.
Right.
So they definitely came in first. So that kind of bumped me and Chris out.
Right. Now that is an interesting one. So when we did all these competitions, we started realizing these rules that we wouldn't have considered. For example, in our gym, when we do a 400-meter run, if you're at the front of the gym, or I guess in this case, the back of the gym by the door, your 400-meter run is less because you're right there. But if you're on the rig all the way, towards the monitors, then technically you're moving more distance, right? So we would fix the competition such that if you're in the back, then your distance starts here or there or whatever, to try to normalize as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then we came to the realization that there are some people that should go RX, but they go scaled, and you're like, well, great, you won the scaled division, but you were able to do everything unbroken every time. So
exactly.
I think you should have probably just gone RX. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why didn't they do that? And so we were never certain, is it a confidence thing? Am I just trying to win the scale? What is it?
Probably just wanting to win.
Probably. And you're like, if the scale is 4, I can't do that, so I'm going to scale it.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it. If you can do it,
do it.
Do RX and do it. Yeah, oops. So that was a weird one. How do you normalize that particular, I don't know.
You can't really tell. You have to just take it competition by competition.
Right.
You just have to hope someone's being honest,
Right.
Because, the RX weights are heavy. So me and Chris can't lift it yet. Hopefully next year we will be doing RX, because even if we suck at it, you're not going to get better unless you
push it.
And
it's fun to see sometimes. So this is a neat thing for the competitions is, especially, so we'll do the open in the gym, and we'll try to get everyone together as much as possible. So it's like, bigger groups of people working out. And you'll see sometimes, like they did this one, it was like shuttle run and then maybe burpee to a target. Was it that? Or burpee pull up? It was something like that. And then at the end of it, it was do a 1 rep thruster max.
Yeah.
And there were several people who PR'd their thruster by multiple tens of pounds. And you're like, in the middle of a competition, after doing already a bunch of work, you come out and you just like throw it down. You're like, how about that, right? So it's interesting what a competition can bring out in you, as long as we're being safe. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Jamie runs the Hot Shots, which is not necessarily, it is a competition-ish. It's a fundraiser.
Yeah.
So there's no judges. It's a hey, be honest or whatever. And I find that to be more fun on the director side, because trying to get people to judge movements is tough, because sometimes athletes can be a pain in the butt.
I know, that's why they tell you at the beginning, don't argue with the judge.
Right.
You're just gonna be done.
Right. And that was, so when we were doing this like hardcore a long time ago, we would burn judges out because athletes would turn around and like yell, and you're like, look, I mean, it's a volunteer, or maybe we're paying them, but it's not like this is their full-time job. This is just somebody who said, oh, I'll give it a shot, I'll help out. Yeah, so I think it would be fun. Have you ever heard of Festivus?
No.
So there's a group in New England, I forgot the name of the gym, but back when we were doing CrossFit Garage Games, they created Festivus. So Festivus for the rest of us, it's the Seinfeld, it's an old show. Anyway, so George Costanza said, well, we didn't do Christmas because I'm Jewish and we did Festivus for the rest of us or whatever. I think it was him, or either him or Kramer. Anyway, so the idea was Festivus is, hey, we can't go to the games because it used to be later in the year. So we would do Festivus for the rest of us. So it's a scaled-ish competition, and it's done online-ish around the world, right? Well, whoever wants to sign up for it. So that would be fun. You could host here at the gym Festivus competition, and we've got all the gear and all that. So yeah,
I'm down.
Yeah. So I will, if I remember, I'll write it down so I remember to do it. Actually, I'm going to listen to this again. So Andy, remember to send Skylar the link to Festivus so we can talk to them. But it's a fun competition. The hard part about any of those things is logistics and having enough toilets.
That's why a lot of people get porta potties.
Yes, you have to bring them in because the meat eaters in here, they will crush things. Okay, so. All right, so you're competing, you're doing a lot of running, a lot of lifting, you're doing CrossFit, and then you start thinking, hey, I think I'd like to actually coach as well. So tell us about that process. When did that occur to you? You're like, this is fun, it's interesting, I like this.
So originally when I joined CrossFit, like I had no idea what I was getting into. And I came to like the onboarding and stuff, and I just honestly just gave Jamie my money. I was like, if I pay for 3 months right now, then it's either I'm just going to waste my money or I'm going to show up. I showed up, fell in love with it. Yeah. And then got better and better and better at it. And then I love people. I love coaching. I've always been a coach. I coached tennis. I've been a personal trainer. My thing before coaching adults was coaching kids. That's why when I was helping out with summer strength, I was so comfortable because that's what I'm completely used to. And then, being a personal trainer at my other job, I'm able to, get the hang of it. So I just fell in love with it. And then, of course, I like training people, but also love CrossFit. So I kind of lean more towards CrossFit. I prefer CrossFit.
Put those two together.
Exactly. So I just started. I got my level 1 and started coaching, doing PTs here, and I just fell in love with it. I love teaching people the foundational movements because it's stuff that you do daily.
It is. So, CrossFit is functional movements.
Yeah, exactly.
Executed at high intensity. So the functional part, it's stuff we're going to do. Hey, can you get up? Can you sit down? Whatever.
Exactly. I tell people, like, when you're older, they're like, why do I need to do a pistol? Like, people at work, like, why do I need to do a pistol? I said, because when you're older, if you fall on the ground, you break a leg, God forbid, how are you going to get up? Right. You have to be able to do a pistol to get up. And it's
they just lean over and roll, and then they use a leg to push up.
But they still need that leg strength.
That's right. You need functional leg and balance, coordination, agility to get yourself moving.
Exactly.
No, that's it. That's awesome. So this is interesting. So you have some couple points in there I want to jump into. So we learned early on. We did it early on, and it took us a long time to learn it. Free is not good because nobody values free. And so we would give things away. So, for example, we did Groupon for a very long time. The stickiness to Groupon was so gross. Like 1 out of 10 people would stay. Yeah, so maybe 10%. It wasn't even that. So we would pull in maybe like 50 to 100 people in a month.
Yeah.
And ruin all of our classes in coaching because it was so cheap and come in and I only paid $5 or $10 or $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't, right? Or we'd give like, hey, here's a week. And they would come once or twice. And so you'd miss this whole free doesn't really work.
Yeah, it does.
I like what you said there. Hey, put money on. Now we don't do contracts, but if somebody pays for it, they're literally going to show up and use it because you paid for it.
Because you paid for it, yeah.
And so
ahead of time.
It's a weird psychology thing. It's like in Dave Ramsey's Debt Snowball. It doesn't make sense, but pay the smallest debt off first because there's an emotional component to it, right? Same thing here. Put money into it. There's an emotional component that doesn't this is going to drive you.
Yeah.
So how did you end up okay, I'm going to do CrossFit. I find CrossFit Garage. How did you end up finding us?
So at church, I have a friend, Jonathan.
Oh, yeah, Cruzado, yep.
Yeah, so he did CrossFit. He told me, because we kind of, we're both Catholic, so we were in RCIA. He was my sponsor. And he's like, I do CrossFit. I'm like, I work out all the time.
What is this CrossFit thing?
I was like, I'd never heard of it. So I checked it out. I came in, and then Jamie gave me a tour of the gym, and the tour is literally stepping into the gym. And I'm like,
that's it.
What? I was like, what is this? It's empty. And
so that is fascinating. So stop right there. This is an issue one to tangent on. It literally is. If you walk in when we're blowing out the gym or cleaning,
it's empty. There's nothing.
There's just a big box with rubber mats on the floor.
Exactly.
There's all the junk on the sides, but so we can rearrange the gym into whatever it needs to be.
Exactly.
But there's literally nothing. So the tour is look through the glass door. Okay, look.
Exactly.
Big box.
Yeah, and then I saw the ropes. I'm like, do I get to climb a rope? And she's like, yeah, eventually. I'm like, eventually. I was like, man, I could climb a rope now. I definitely could not climb a rope then. But so yeah, I found it then, and I was kind of skeptical at first because I'd never done it before.
Yeah.
And I'm used to normal weightlifting.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I did since I was already in fitness. I was a personal trainer. Jamie only had me do 2 or 3 of the onboarding, something like that.
Sure. So typically it's what we do is 5.
Yeah.
It can be more or less depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
If you've done CrossFit before, then you can move right into class.
Yeah.
Although we have had some people say, I've done CrossFit before, and then you're like, I don't think you really did CrossFit.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was you did. So let us back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's really about safety. Let's make sure you're safe, we're safe, we can talk to each other, have the right,
Yeah.
So it's a great way to acclimate people. So we did used to throw people directly into class back when we were like, if you can't do a muscle up right now, you should just, So that was a really bad, that's very unsticky as well.
Yeah.
Just jump in, I hope it works. Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned when we were talking before we hit record that working out is also not just good for your body, but it's good for your mind.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So something that I don't really talk about, I'm down to talk about it on a podcast because it's just me and you here.
Well, it's going to be
I know,
all 14 billion people. No, it's
200
200 people. So some people do struggle with a lot of things. I know me and sorry, I'll get your name later when I remember it. We were talking about anxiety, and in my headspace, as a kid, it was really tough.
Yeah.
My kids struggle with it, so I am very big into finding people to talk. Hey, how do you? So I haven't had that podcast yet, but eventually we're going to do one on anxiety. But go ahead, yeah.
So I kind of came up here because I got away from everything. So I was severely bullied in school, I was majorly depressed. I mean, I've been on depression, anxiety medicine, not depression now, but depression, anxiety medicine, once I hit puberty.
Right.
And I have dealt with a lot of mental health stuff, I don't know if I can say it,
I don't know. We can say whatever we want. It's my podcast. If people don't want to listen, our big thing is love everybody.
That's what I did. Yeah. So I had a lot of suicide ideation, self-harm, stuff like that, and I really fought through it.
So there are people like me and you.
Yeah.
When I go across a bridge, parents, I'm not trying to make you nervous, but I'm like, what if I turned right?
Yeah.
There's a song from Steering Wheel. It's called Steering Wheel. I can't think of who sings it, but they're like, what if I turned the steering wheel off the bridge? I never do it. I'm still here.
Yeah.
But those things go through people's minds all the time.
Yeah.
One, it's not unnormal to have weird thoughts.
Exactly.
And they're not always that weird. But if we don't talk about them,
exactly,
then that's not good. And other people have these struggles. And if we can show, hey, you can make it through it, take a deep breath, time is on your side.
Yeah, just breathe. That's all you got to do.
That's it. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it is super important.
Yes.
People struggle. And maybe the worst thing about social media is that it never shows people struggling.
Exactly.
And that's just not right. Because I'm a 50-year-old man and I struggle still. I'm like, is life hard? Yeah. But think of the other side of it. You ever played those games where you have a cheat code where you can be, they call it God mode, where you're like, I'm invincible, I can do whatever I want to do?
Call of Duty.
Yeah, so not fun. When you're in God mode, you're like, it's not really that fun. I'm going to win no matter what.
Exactly.
So if life was like that, man, it would be so boring.
Oh, yeah.
Not that the challenges are always awesome, but at least it makes life interesting, right? Sometimes it's crappy interesting, but anyway, okay, so you got these things, you're struggling.
Yes.
You find fitness as an outlet.
Exactly. So I was always bullied, so I like kind of got into fitness because it was a way to kind of like be myself and like really push myself.
Right.
And I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
I fell in love with sports. That's, I grew up playing sports.
Right.
And I just fell in love with it. And, it was a way that I could just go and just have my time alone. And
right.
Then, I never got that the satisfaction I get from CrossFit is not what I got from the gym. So I really fell in love with CrossFit because like I'm able to come in here, push myself, and also like the people here are like my genuine friends. Like I've had friends in life, but it's the community here that really drives you together.
Well, so I think we're cheating on this one. We didn't for a while, but we threw up there, hey, who are we? We sat down, I don't know, it was probably like 4 years ago. I was like, guys, let's list out who do we really want to be. And so it's the qualities of the people at the time, but then we proliferate that. So it's, hey, happy, humble, helpful. Okay, so if we feel like that's who we are, and we start attracting people like that, and we tell people, hey, does this sound like you? And if they're like, well, not really, we're like, we're probably not the gym for you, right? And so it's not that we're perfect all the time, right?
No, of course not.
But those are some goals. And so the weird thing is, we will then attract people like that, and then you're like, hey, I like these people. Why? Well, because they're similar-ish to me.
Oh, yeah.
Now, granted, we're diverse, and people are different and whatever, but you have this inside thing, like, I don't want to be a jackass. I'd like to be humble or helpful or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So fascinating thing, you're not the only one to say this, that me too, bullied as a kid.
Yeah.
So in the 80s, it was just a thing. I don't know, like, hey, you get your lunch money stolen. I mean, it was literally, I don't know. It's so weird the way the world has changed, but there was these two guys, I can't remember their names. I'm sure it'll pop into my head at 2 a.m. tonight, but they wouldn't take my lunch money, but they would do the traditional, like, we would be walking to, I don't know, where would we be going? Probably lunch. And they're like, there's Andy, here's the corner, nobody can see what we're doing, let's grab them and like rough them up a bit.
Yeah.
And this is where I learned to use humor. So I found out quickly, if you tell a your mama joke and it's about the bully's mom, it just pisses him off. So I'm like, I can't use those jokes.
No.
It's like, I gotta change my humor.
You'll get beat
so
up.
this is where I started moving into dad jokes. If you can come up with puns or maybe a self-deprecating joke, if you can get them to laugh, they would like change their demeanor.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I've used humor to kind of diffuse situations, especially that bully thing.
Yeah.
Which is probably unhealthy. I'm sure if you go back and I talk to, one of the psychologists, you're going to say you should probably fix that, but whatever. So it is interesting that many of us have this road, and we're able to use CrossFit, not just, hey, I'm working out, but there's a little competition in there, right? Either against yourself or someone else, or I'm learning something new. Mm-hmm. Or, like, I remember when you first came in, you're like, hey, how's this squat look? I'm like, yeah, I would definitely work on that. And then, I don't know what happened, but I guess I didn't coach the 4 p.m. class for a while. Then I saw you do like an overhead squat, which is super complicated and tough. I'm like, dude, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I've been working on it. I'm like, I can tell. So those are cool things too, where you can see, literally see and feel progress.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool stuff. Anything else you want to say into that health and fitness, like, or health and mindset? Like, people out there that maybe struggle, could they use something like this to help them?
Oh yeah, I definitely say like, because when you're in that position, you don't want people around you, like you don't want help, you want to be by yourself, but when you're in that position, that's what you need. You really need people, even if you don't want to like talk to anybody, but just come in and be with the community.
Right.
And because like you don't have the same goals, but you all enjoy the same things. And everyone here is your friend. Like I've when you come in, you don't meet a stranger. So that's what you need when you're in that position, because when you come in here, nobody knows what you're going through, who you are, or anything. You know, everyone just loves everybody.
Right.
You know,
and it is a weird thing too. So if you go to if you go to a standard gym,
you're just a number.
And people shouldn't really talk to each other because it's a weird environment. Like if I came up to you and was like, "Hey, buddy," you're going to be thinking,
"You're a creep." Yeah.
Right. Like, what are you trying to get out of me?
Exactly.
Nothing. I was right. So here, it's more like if you ever did a team sport or a I don't know, like karate or something. There's a group class, and people are into the same sort of thing.
Exactly.
And so, funny, we just had one of our members put in a client feedback form, and it was like, "Hey, love the coaches, love the community, love the environment. I don't know everybody's name. If you could, please say more names out loud." So I'm like, that is very valid. I sometimes forget that, like, if you work out in the morning and you pop into an afternoon class, you may not actually know them, even though I know everybody. And I may be like, "Hey, Skylar," or whatever, who I'm talking to.
Yeah.
And so maybe they catch the name, or maybe they can go look at it on the coaching board, they can see it. But they may actually not know them. So I'm like, that's very valid. I should make sure I say names in case people show up late. But anyway, or not late, to a different class.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's that environment. Okay, so we're going to go into some interesting little questions here. If you don't like the question, you can say pass, but they're pretty non-inflammatory. It's fun.
Okay.
What was the first job you ever had?
The first job I ever had, so under the table or
whatever. Yeah, I love it. No, yeah. So this is beautiful. So many people have said, "You mean like 1099 or like totally cash or W-2? Like, what are we talking about?" I'm like, whatever.
So just normal cash. I was a tennis coach.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That's the very first job I had I was like 13, and I coached it until I was 12. Coached it until I was like 16.
Oh, wow.
Every summer. Yeah.
And you got paid cash?
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing.
Cash and an iTunes gift card.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
Back in the day when you paid for iTunes gift cards.
Or when people use cash. I mean, I have a couple 20s in my billfold thingy, and I don't think I've ever touched it.
I can't even tell you the last time I had cash.
I actually wrote a check the other day, and I'm like, I don't know where my checkbook is, but it used to be you would pay for your groceries with a check.
Yeah.
And you'd have to run it through the little scanny thing, and I'm like, that's so old. What?
Yeah.
But okay, so that's a good one. So I like that. So you're hustling from a young age.
Pretty much.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And then when you get the first W-2 job, you're like, wait, the tax man took that much money? And if you get a 1099 job, you have to wait until April. Then you're like, wait, the tax man took that much money?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hate that. What is something that your parents or grandparents taught you that you find super valuable now?
That's a good question. Well, my grandma taught me how to cook, clean, fish, hunt, everything. She basically raised me.
In Americus?
Yeah, in Americus. Yeah. And then my mom taught me just be myself, be happy.
Yeah.
Love
Cooking
everyone.
is a huge valuable skill that many people...
Oh yeah, my mom can't cook.
Yeah.
So my mom didn't teach me to cook.
And it doesn't have to be... It doesn't have to be fancy. Like, the oven is 350 degrees. That's about it. Put it there, then it's the timing, right?
Yeah.
The stove,
it's homemade dishes.
You can learn a little bit, and it doesn't have to be crazy. Yeah. So learn a little bit, and it actually helps your health and fitness. Well, your health anyway. A lot more to make your own food.
Yeah.
A whole lot less salts and things when you make it yourself.
Yeah.
So let's see. We did the fitness journey, and here's the good one. So the high-low buffalo. High is fun, low is, unless there's no lows, that's totally fine. No. And then buffalo is something surprising, interesting, or random.
Okay.
For your health and fitness journey. Could be CrossFit, could just be Spartan Races or whatever. What's something that you found fun and interesting about your health and fitness in the last couple of years?
Well, I would say CrossFit because I've never been so fit and healthy in my life.
Okay.
So
that's interesting because, in my opinion, you're a young person who is. When I look at you, you look healthy and fit. So I've
been doing CrossFit.
Valid. So, but even when you came in, I thought, he was pretty well, he's pretty fit. But you were saying, no, I wasn't.
So I thought I was.
Fascinating. Okay.
Yes, I was. So I was healthy and fit, but I wasn't super strong.
Yeah.
I literally just being in here like 9 months, I put like over 100 pounds on my deadlift.
Get out of here.
So
that's awesome.
And of course, I learned like proper form and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So form helps a lot. I tell the summer strength kids, they're like we'll start deadlift and they'll do like 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And then like 2 weeks later, they're already up to 100 pounds. I'm like, it's not because you're that much stronger. It's because
you got form.
You know how to lift with better form. Right. So there's definitely, so we tell people it's form first And then it's the weight, and then it's the speed. So let's work on form, master that,
Exactly.
then start adding weight. And if you can master the weight, then we'll go for some speed with it.
Exactly.
Now that's good. 100 pounds in a deadlift is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I think
especially when I was like stuck at like 215 forever.
Oh wow! So you're talking about like 315? What are you up to on your deadlift now?
Well, I'm at 335, but of course, you know
nice.
how often we want rep max here. You know,
right. So that's something I've learned over time. So I did back in 2008 when we started up the gym. We would try to like hit a PR all the dang time.
Yeah.
Why? Because we can write it on the board.
Exactly.
It doesn't actually promote your fitness as much as doing the reps. This is why when like in the 80s they were doing hypertrophy, which was Levi's, really my son, really working on getting bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, dude, if you want to get bigger, you use the hypertrophy, not CrossFit, and it reduces his fitness. I mean, he's out of breath going up steps. maybe not literally out of breath, but his fitness has dropped off a lot. But he's eating like 5,000 calories. I'm like, that's probably too much. And lifting all the time. So he is racing up the scale. I'm like, there's only a short time in your life where you want the scale to go up. The rest of your life, you're going to fight for it to go down. So be smart now. But anyway, so he is packing it on to get bigger. But it's the usual suspects of health and fitness is I sacrifice endurance for strength, or I sacrifice strength for endurance. So CrossFit is trying to get both of those.
Both of them, yes.
Which is move slower, but as you're showing, you will get them. You just have to be patient with it.
Yeah, you just have to be patient.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be able,
and then put in the reps.
Exactly. You don't come in here and, you come in here if you're best friends with everyone, you try to beat everyone. Like today, I went and saw the whiteboard and I saw Chris did 95 pounds. I did 96 just out of spite.
Yeah, put the 2 pound or the 1 pound on there.
But no, so you don't come in here and just try to like compete against everybody. You just want to do what you can, because regardless, everyone's getting the same workout, just different intensity.
That's right.
What works for one person might not work for the next.
Yeah.
So you just want to scale it back. That's also what's good about CrossFit. You can scale literally every single movement in here.
So you can scale and modify. So scaling would be dropping the reps or the weight, and modify being, hey, my shoulder feels weird. Okay, let's change this to do something a little bit different. And that's very valid. That's good stuff. Okay, so what about any low or buffalo?
Low, I would say right now, my shoulder.
Yeah, get that fixed.
I got to get that fixed.
So a shoulder is a weird joint. It's not like any other joint, and we put a lot of pressure on that. So we always need to be super careful in that guy.
Oh, yeah. Buffalo, what's buffalo?
So buffalo could be surprising, could be fun, could be interesting. It doesn't have to be a high or a low. It's just something that sticks out in your head. How about like finding competitions?
Yeah, finding competitions.
That could be totally random. Like, who does that? Me.
Yeah, I love competitions.
How about going up the rope? You're like, can I climb that rope? Then you're like, well, now I can.
Yeah, I literally run up the rope now.
Oh yeah, that is awesome. So the funny thing is when you finally get to, okay, it's my legs, I'm not really using arms.
Yeah, no, you just literally hang on. That's all.
Yeah, and you drive with your legs, and then you're like, that doesn't make any sense until you do it, which is interesting. So if you're thinking to yourself, hey, I'm too old to do this, we have people like me, 50 years old, that have never climbed a rope, that can start climbing a rope, right?
Exactly.
Now, if you're nervous or afraid, just go up a few steps. You don't have to go up a
bunch.
bunch.
Don't look down.
Oh, well, don't look down. And know how to come down before you get up there. I remember one of our members, Amy, she went up. She's like, yeah, I made it up. How do I get down? I'm like, that's a very valid question. It's actually the same way, but we probably should have talked about that. So I should have been a smarter coach in that and had her come down a little sooner. All right, so let's go to how about this? What excites you most about the future for your health and fitness? Or anything, I guess.
Competing more.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So I'm very interested. We're going to have to look at that Festivus, because then you have your own competition. Then you'll learn the behind the scenes. And you're like, oh, now I know. So there are tricks to competitions. It really comes down to logistics.
Exactly. Yeah.
If it doesn't work logistically, they have to change the workouts. So you can know ahead of time sort of what they can and can't do. It's like with the Open. They never do a run because logistically they can't make everyone's run the same.
Yeah.
Right? So you can start to like, okay, well, they can't probably do a rope if they only have 2 ropes in here. There's no way they're climbing. So I can take that off my list or whatever, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we used to have this billboard out here on 92, and it said CrossFit Garage with an arrow right here, and like 3 people saw it over 6 months, so it was a bad investment, but it was there. If you could rent that and put any message to the world, or any message you want to the world or to 92, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be health and fitness, a slogan for life or a motto or whatever. What would you have people think on, ponder, or whatever as they drive?
I would say be the person your dog thinks you are.
Oh, that's a good one. Have you ever seen that cartoon where it's a drawing? There's a guy sitting with his dog. So his dog's to the right. They're on a park bench or maybe just on the ground, and they're looking off into the distance. So they went on a walk, basically.
Yeah.
And so they have a bubble for the guy, and he's thinking about work or something else, right? He's computers, whatever. And then the dog has a bubble, and the dog is thinking about exactly what they're doing at that moment. I'm like, dude, that is so hurtful. Yeah. That is good.
Yeah.
So we just got we got a Great Pyrenees. The dog is massive, and I think he thinks I'm a chew toy.
You are a chew toy.
I know, I'm like, I got to come up with a better way to do it. So Louis actually got us a trainer that's local. He said, you should try her. She's really good. And she only came over once, and we're already making progress with the things she trained me to train. So I think it's really a person trainer, not a dog trainer, but yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. So do you have a dog?
I have 3.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
What do you have? What are they?
So when I got into the relationship with Brooke, I already had a Pomeranian Chihuahua. That's my baby.
Yep.
His name is Cricket. And then me
very
and
cute.
Brooke, after we got our first apartment, we adopted Miley, which is a German Shepherd mix. We don't know what she's mixed with, but she was supposed to be 80 pounds, and she's like 35, 36. She's really tiny.
Yeah.
And then in May, we went to Target to get laundry detergent, and over on 92, there's that PetSmart,
Right.
and they had dogs out there, so I'm like, let's just go look.
Yeah, don't do that.
We came home with a puppy.
Yeah.
She's an Australian Shepherd Boxer mix, and
wow.
she is huge.
Oh, yeah?
Like, she is huge.
Are we talking like 80 pounds or something?
She's supposed to be like 75, 85 pounds. Right now, she's bigger than Miley.
Oh, my.
So she's still a baby.
Yeah.
But she's
That's going to be
huge.
huge. So you don't know what the mixture is. It could be a Great Dane.
That would be a funny looking Great Dane.
Yeah, that would be huge too.
Yeah.
So
Nah,
oh, wow.
she's definitely Australian Shepherd Boxer mix, but she's a sweetheart. Her name is Daisy.
Daisy, nice. You got Daisy, Miley, and Cricket.
Yes. And then Brooke's mom has a dog too.
You take them all on walks together at the same time?
No, they walk themselves in the backyard.
Oh, there you go. So I've been trying to. So we had Abby, our older dog, loved to sneak out and go run around. So I was like, okay, I need to take them on walks. So I'd take the 2 dogs, and then we had 3, and we tried to like wrestle in the walks. Abby passed away. Now we got 3 dogs again, and it is really hard to walk 3 dogs. So we have one leash that divides in 2. So
those don't work.
So for us it does, because the shepherd, we have a not shepherd, German shepherd. Yeah, it's a shepherd. German shepherd follows the lab around, so she wants to be with him anyway. But instead of having an extra leash, which then twists me up and gets me into some sort of knots, she just like hangs out beside him, and they'll switch around a little bit, but she stays together. Now the other guy is a Great Pyrenees, and he's a little turd. So it's mostly because I didn't train him, and we're getting better, but he needs his own leash. He needs his own person to walk him. So it's walking 3 dogs is not fun.
Yeah, no, they walk themselves in the backyard.
Yeah.
Daisy won't walk on a leash right now, and we have the double leash too, but it does not work. My dogs try to go separate ways. It does.
So it does help when they try to go separate ways. They choke each other.
Yes, and then they get mad at each other and they try to attack each other. I'm like,
so we don't get to fight since one of them is about 20 pounds heavier, so he wins every time.
See, that's how Miley and Cricket are. You know, they just and then Cricket, being the Chihuahua in him, he'll snap, and I'm like, well,
that's what they do. Yeah,
that's normal.
Later, Matt. So, any books or podcasts that you listen to or recommend out?
I don't read.
I like that. Me neither. I listen to a lot of Audible.
So I used to, but I don't read anymore.
Yeah.
I've never actually, let me correct myself. I have, the last book I read, I was like a freshman in high school. No,
it was
like
Cliff Notes?
a sophomore or something.
Yeah.
It was something stupid. I don't know.
I felt like all those books are dumb. They called them classics. I'm like, I don't know why, because
Like
I hate
The Hobbit.
them. Right.
It was stupid. No, I absolutely hate reading. I feel so bad for my mom. I would not read when there was AR in school. She had to go up to the library and get you remember those little, the cassette tapes with the earbuds? So she had to go and get that for me, and I still would not.
So that's where it comes.
I put her through it. I hate reading.
Books
I
on
always
tape.
have.
People still say it, even though we're listening to it on MP3 now.
Yeah,
we still say
no.
books on tape.
Yeah.
That's what they mean. So that's pretty interesting. So what about podcasts?
So podcasts, I love podcasts.
What do you listen
ironically,
to?
You.
Yay!
I guess give you some clout there. So I listen to a lot of true crime because I got my degree in criminal justice. So
very cool.
when I say I love true crime, I'm not like a psychopath.
Yeah.
I love the aspect of it. So because I used to work at a probation office too, so I love
very neat.
the difference of it and how people court-wise, stuff, stuff like that. So I listen to a lot of true crime. I love YouTube videos. I watch, mainly anything on YouTube is true crime.
Yeah.
So Lights Out podcast, Mile Higher podcast.
I'll link all these if I can find them. I will link them in the show notes. You guys can go find these. Many people say true crime, so it's fascinating that everybody loves that.
Yeah, because it's interesting.
Yeah.
And
Verity used to watch, maybe she still does, there's a TV show, maybe, I feel like it's 60 Minutes, it might not be 60 Minutes, but they would talk about some crime, and like, it's basically a true crime show. Like, this is what happened, and this is how it goes down. And almost always, she bought green Gatorade and antifreeze. I'm like, yep, she's gonna kill him. I mean, that's definitely what's gonna happen. Yeah. So, and the other thing that I found was, it's not that the detectives are like crazy smart. I mean, they are, but it's more like people do it, like the crime, the same way. And you think you're being sneaky, they're like, nah, that's what everybody does.
No, everyone's seen everything.
That's so crazy. You thought you were,
Yeah, no.
That's fun stuff. So if you were to, like, somebody like you is listening right now, and they're thinking, hey man, I can't do CrossFit. What would you tell them about CrossFit here at the garage?
Just come die with us.
Come die with.
Nah, you can definitely do it. Anybody can do it. I'm trying to get Brooke in here to do it, but she's the same way. She's like, I can't do it. I said, we can literally scale anything and everything.
Yeah.
If you can't do a pull-up, guess what? We got ring rows.
That's
if you can't do a ring row, we can just work.
Whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can do negatives. You can do so many things.
That's right.
Just come in here and try it. You'll fall in love with it.
So most people have what we call FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Yeah.
So they're fearful they can't do it. And you just said, yes, you can.
Yeah.
They're uncertain of the environment. It's a pretty good environment.
Everyone loves everybody. Everyone's friends with everybody.
Well, and that is the weird thing. You think, well, I'm not going to fit in, or my story is too different. Everyone's got a different story.
Exactly.
And everyone has a starting place. And so your starting place doesn't have to be many times, especially guys, will walk in and they'll be like, oh, well, I can work out like her. Let me just pick Coach Laura.
Yeah.
And like, well, what you don't know is she's been doing this for 9 years.
Exactly. You can't compare yourself to others.
Her journey has been very interesting. She's dropped, when we did a podcast, she said she was 230 pounds when she started. I don't remember her like that.
Yeah.
Because she did the smart thing, which is lose weight over time and build up her fitness over time.
Yeah.
But guys will come in and be like, I could probably beat her. You can't. Just everyone has a different journey and a different story. Just do you, and you'll be fine. Yeah. And that's the other thing is nobody pushes negatively, right?
No.
Yeah, it's always like, hey, good job, keep it up, you can do it, right?
Yeah,
or even in a workout, I've stopped halfway through and be like, Coach, I'm done. And they're like, that's okay.
Yeah, literally, me today, like when my calves completely seized up on me, like that's why I didn't bite, because I'm like,
I'm done.
I can't move right now. No one's gonna judge you. I mean, you come in here, you do what you can, of course, push yourself,
Right.
And as coaches, we're going to encourage you to push yourself, but also we're not going to be like, you can't leave until you finish. Like, we just, we want you to do good, we want you to finish, but of course we understand, everyone's been there. We wouldn't be a coach if we didn't understand.
That's true. I think the one thing that I would ask more people to do is stretch and roll.
So I tell everybody after class, make sure you roll, make sure you.
Me too. Nobody does. I know. Guys, if you're listening and you're here and you remember, make sure you stretch and roll. I promise you.
At least roll.
At least a little bit. Just get your glutes, get your lower back, and then your IT band.
Just 3 minutes. That's
I know.
it.
Just 3 minutes. I have tried to end the class early to make sure people would roll, and some people just leave. Danny has a good hack. She's like, if you have them roll up front, they'll roll. I'm like, interesting. So I need to put that back into it.
You also want to roll after the workout.
You do. No, that's super important. But if I can get them to roll anywhere, like if you're very sore, just coming in, like the other day I came in and I just rode. I did the warm up. And then I got on the rower and I just put it in the corner and just watched everyone work out.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I have 2 rowers and 2 bikes at my house. You know what I will not do at my own house? Any of that.
Yeah.
So
no,
it's so weird. I am an introvert by nature, learned to be an extrovert, but I won't work out at my house by myself where the introvert hermit would like to be. I want to work out here.
Same.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the difference? I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway.
no, I love to work out here.
Yeah.
The only time I go to One Life is to swim.
Yeah, we don't have a pool. We did have somebody one time put in a customer feedback form, you should get a pool. I'm like, I don't even know how that I could do that. But
put it upstairs.
That's right. So there's the neighborhood right over the fence has a pool. So
why don't we just go there?
We could cut through and just jump in.
We're CrossFitters. We can just jump the fence.
Jump the fence. That's true. Add the obstacle in there. So, okay, guys, if you're here in Woodstock, we are just south of Woodstock, near First Baptist Woodstock, or across the street from Black Rifle Coffee. So we're not too far away from you. If you're local, that is great. Come in here. We will definitely help you. If you're not local and you're looking for a gym, email me, andy@crossfitgarage.com, and we can zero down into your geographic area some gyms that might work for you. There are some things that you want to look for that you may not know. Some easy ones are like, hey, 1,000 square foot gym probably is going to be it's going to be harder to use unless they have a very small membership. So super small is maybe tough, right? The other thing to watch out for is if there is like only one coach and they have like 13 classes, that coach is going to be burnt out and dead. That's a tough one to just get good coaching in. The other one is the extreme other side. Let's say they have 6 classes, but like 100 coaches. That means every coach has 1 class. They don't get enough reps in and they won't know you enough. So that's something to watch out for. So there are some of those things. Others is what's their schedule. You want to make sure they have a class that you can go for. But I would say probably above everything is close is a great way to start. Find a gym that doesn't have contracts, or you can just pay the extra fee to not be in a contract. Try it out for a month. We never do contracts because it's super weird to enter into a relationship where we want to coach you, help you, be honest with you, and then you say, hey, it wasn't for me. And we're like, whatever, we got you for another year because you signed a contract. So yeah, we don't do that. And if you want... you can find us on any of the socials, as well as, of course, CrossFit.com, or you can hit me on the email, and we are happy to help. Guys, we just want to help you build that firm foundation now, as well as when you're 90, in fitness, food, and finances. All right, guys, y'all take care. Thank you, Skylar.
Of course.